Hello, welcome in. Get out the cold. Remember, shoes off at the front door. Get some snacks and come take a seat. And join us here in the Music Shack with both
Ray.
and Jack. We're back after. Well, it was meant to be a break. But there was a little problem with the scheduling on YouTube. So the episode came out on like a week after it was meant to on Saturday. So it's pretty much been like maybe 7 days or something, like 6 days or so since you got the last episode.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, but it was out at the normal time on the podcast apps, and we're very sorry. We're very, very sorry. But this is a really fun episode. We haven't talked for 2 weeks, so we haven't talked about any of the news for 2 weeks. But this Friday, something really exciting happened, and Olivia Rodrigo released her second album, which is like so fun.
We've been spoiled. Like we definitely took the week off at a good time to come back, but then there has been so much that's happened outside of like guts and stuff as well. So it's just there's so much, but it's all good. So exciting.
Yeah. So Guts came out, which means that we're gonna start the episode by going through the tracks. So if you guys want to like hear what we think about all the tracks, our favorites, not our favorites, really fun stuff, some of the discourse about all the tracks that's been going on online, we will have things to weigh in. So that'll be fun. And obviously we'll talk about other stuff later to the end of the podcast. But I just wanted to say, I tweeted out a few days ago after I listened to Guts, because I had so much to say after I listened to it, and I was like, you guys aren't ready for when Jack and Ray talk about Guts. And someone replied, Robin replied, shout out to Robin, This is my Super Bowl. I'm like, thank you. Our opinions are like very important.
Honestly, when you tweeted that, I was like, I honestly don't think I'm ready to talk about it. Like, it's been like.
Well, yeah, if you're not following our Twitter, it's just at Music Shack on Twitter or X or whatever. Just follow it, because I tweet random shit a lot.
And I don't go near it because Twitter scares me. So I'll let Ray, any good tweets you see, they're all from Ray. So go follow it so you can check in on them.
Wow, thanks. Anyway, shall we get into talking about Guts? Because it's going to be probably a longer episode, so we should get right into it. Okay, so Guts is the sophomore album by Olivia Rodrigo. Her first album was Sour. It broke so many records, so this was like really highly anticipated. Both Jack and I like loved Sour, so we are also like obsessed with Guts. And I think overall, listening to the album for the first time when I listened to it, some of the tracks I was like, oh, like a little bit like, I think a lot of these tracks are growers, like in terms of maybe on the first listen you're like, I don't know if I like this, but then you listen to it over and over and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this song. And I think, we talked about that when Bad Idea, right, came out, that like maybe we didn't like it on the first listen, and then like we listened to it a lot and we loved it. So I think a few standout tracks for me, The Grudge instantly was like my favorite, and it still is my favorite. And then Get Him Back was like also my favorite. And we'll talk more about it, but I think I absolutely love this album. Personally, I think it is better than Sour in my opinion. And I know a lot of people say otherwise, like, everyone has their opinions because they're both really good albums. I think personally for me, Sour was an album that was like, I listened to a lot when it first came out, and then it's not something I go back to and listen to anymore, really. It's like, it kind of had its time in my life, and now I don't listen to it anymore. Whereas I feel like these tracks on Guts, like at least some of them, I'll probably go back and listen to years from now because I like love them that much. Like they have more timelessness a little bit, I think.
I think that you've like summed it up. Like, so we had All I Want from the High School Musical TV series blow up, and then we came in to obviously like Driver's License and like Deja Vu, and it was like banger after banger. Olivia blew up practically like faster than overnight. Yeah, like it was insane. And to then release to Sour, there's so many amazing songs on Sour. There still is. Like when you go back to Sour, it's like there's no skips. I think that's quite like discernible for like everybody to say that, but I think you're also right where you say like it's not something that you always have in rotation, whereas you'll go back to it and be like, oh, this is such a good album, but you just like,
Yeah.
it's like, unless you've got something in your playlist, like it's just not something that you sometimes always go back to really re-listen to. And it is a shorter album as well, which I think is sometimes a reason for it. Like if you're putting on an album, you usually put on one that'll like get you through all whatever you're doing to then like that'll take up your time. Whereas like I feel like if you put on a 34-minute album, you're like having to go back and change it. So sometimes I think you just pick albums over it. But you have like obviously Happier, Hope You're Okay, like our personal favourites of Sour. So there is so many bangers, like Deja Vu, Driver's License and everything. So this was like a heavily anticipated album for so many people, and it is like it's a sophomore album, so you're always going to have the success from the initial album, and it's like there's always the eyes on the artist, like can they top it? Are they going to be like a one hit like wonder, or like one kind of like do really well for one album and then kind of like fall off after that. But I think from what I've seen, apart from like there's always going to be that discussion between different fandoms, that the majority of people are obsessed with the album just as much as we are. And I'm just reading the synopsis of it here, and the album mainly focuses on the events in Rodrigo's life as she navigated being 19 years old and the challenges that came with it. A year filled with lots of confusion and mistakes and awkwardness and good old fashioned teen angst. Her experiences came together to form Guts. So obviously there was so much that happened from the release of Sour to Guts. There's pretty much like every track on here explains a feeling, and we're going to go through them. But
I think that kind of sums it up like very well, like the themes of Guts in general. I think that it doesn't like tell like a cohesive story per se, but there's a bunch of emotions portrayed in this album, and there's a lot of links between songs, which we will talk about more when we go through each track. But I think it does very well portray all of the emotions like somebody who is 19 feels. And I want to say something, because I know I keep talking about Lorde, but Olivia, not to say that like Olivia's gonna like disappear for 5 years and then release another album like Lorde did after Melodrama, but Lorde and Olivia to me are very similar. They both like were children when they like obviously Lorde wasn't but this album is like very Melodrama-esque to me. It talks about like it's a coming of age album and talks about the feelings of like being a new adult a lot, and it's also Olivia's sophomore album and Melodrama's Lorde's sophomore album. So I don't know, it just feels very reminiscent of that for me. Not like the sounds, just the themes of the album honestly are very similar, which is great because I love the themes in Melodrama. So this is really good. And I really related to Melodrama growing up, so I like think that kids now probably definitely like this album is something that they're gonna like use as they grow up as like something. I think even for me as a teenage girl in my 20s, I like a lot of these songs hit home. But anyway, I think we should get started on the track by track. So track 1 is All American Bitch. The opening track of the album, it's very interesting to me because the production on this track is like, it gets started and I had no idea what to expect, right? I just put on the album and it's like, you know, this like soft sound, and then the chorus is like, you know, more rock. And I was like, at first I was like, what is happening? I don't know if I like this. And then I listened to this again, and honestly, All American Bitch has become like one of my favorite songs on the album. But on first listen, I was like, oh my god, this is my least favorite song on the album. And I think just because it was the first song I listened to and I wasn't like into it yet, it kind of like took me by surprise. But now I really like it, I guess. But I absolutely love the meaning of this song. I think just she talks about all of the things that society perceives her as like an all-American, perfect girl that she needs to be as this like 19-year-old pop star in front of everyone's eyes, you know, and who she wants to be, and or like who she's perceived to be, but she's actually like, you know, just falling apart as every normal 19-year-old is. I don't know, Jack, what did you think about All American Bitch?
Yeah, I think I definitely had the same initial feelings as you. Like, you turn it on, you just don't know what to expect. I think, actually, waking up in the morning before listening to the album, I think this is this. So obviously, she done a couple performances, the morning of and everything, and I think this is one of the ones that was I seen first before I actually listened to the album, and it was the video of her like performing it. It got such a like mixed reaction, and it was getting so much hate just from like so many people. She's like, what kind of scream is that? I was like, just let someone have fun. Like, it was I mean,
it's not meant that's like part of the song. Yeah. It's like her talking about all of the expectations that society has, and then she's like filled with rage that she has to like be this person, and then she lets it all out in that scream, and then it goes into the outro, which I was totally singing right before this podcast. Jack heard me, and it's like, all the time I'm grateful, all the time I'm sexy and I'm kind, I'm pretty when I cry, which is like the good girl. Like, I'm gonna talk about like young stars feel like this all the time, and I like Taylor talks about this in Miss Americana, but it's like the good girl that the American public want to see a young American pop star be. And so she's like letting out all the rage in the scream of like all the things that she's really feeling, and it's like, okay, now I can be that person that people want me to be, when even that's not who she really is.
Yeah, but people so like just didn't understand it, and they're just, we're being so mean, and there's no reason. She's just like, she's not trying to be all out like full on metal, but the song's going to be so fun when she performs it. But
I think it's the kind of song that's like taken to a new level when you're in an arena and like the entire crowd is singing those the chorus and the bridge with you. Like, it just takes it to a new level.
Oh, it's going to be
and
so loud.
I hope, this is my dream of this song, and if Olivia Rodrigo wants to lord you guys and like shush people, I will accept it, because I think that when during the soft parts in the verses, if people just like shut up and be quiet, and then everyone starts screaming the chorus and the bridge, it would be so iconic. But like, nobody's gonna do that because people don't know how to be quiet.
That would be, I can just like hear it, and it would be so awesome. But yeah, people just won't let it happen. As you were saying, like, I feel like there is definitely like a lot more pressure put on like young artists, especially women who are like coming into the industry, and they're just held to this like unattainable like standard practically. Like, they can't, they're told they can't do certain things, or they can't step out of line, or like react in a certain way, or like, as Taylor has said plenty of times, where like she was told that like a good girl like never like says what she's thinking, or like speaks like what she feels about certain things or anything like that. We've definitely, not to kind of always compare them, but we've definitely always seen very similar things between even not just like Taylor and Olivia, but like in general, like
just
all the
younger women artists, especially ones who have so much microscope on them, like Olivia, because she is so successful and people always talk about her. I Taylor fits into that as well, because that's what she was when she was that age too. That's why we're talking about Taylor, not because like we want to compare them, just because like at that time they were
we're
similar.
Not trying to, this is going to be a constant theme on this, we're not trying to compare. I think I'd speak for Ray here, and I think we're very like on like the whole idea that like we don't care what the situation is, like we support them both and that's literally, we don't care about what the outcome is or anything
I
like that.
don't think it's like important, and
Yeah.
I think people are just trying to make shit out of nothing, and that is the last that we're going to talk about that, because I don't think we need to like give it, and I know Jack, you agree with me on this, so just like give it more attention, because it's like not like, it's just stupid.
Yeah, and if you want to go look it up, she's said plenty of times, especially in recent interviews, that there's nothing. So that's
Yeah.
what literally we're not going to say anymore, because it's stupid. Stop entertaining it. But literally, so it's just like they're held to these standards, and it is that screaming stuff where it is like it's like got too much where she like has to scream to like kind of like reset herself and like let it out, and then go back to being this like all like not speaking when she's not meant to, like, or not saying what she's not meant to say, like girl, and she just goes along with it, and it's become like, again, probably I think it's definitely one of my favorites on the album, if not my favorite. And it is just that scream to like the just the slow like melodic like end, and it is so good. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Anyway, let's move on, because we have so many tracks to talk about. So the next track is Bad Idea, right? And then the track after that is Vampire. So I'm kind of going to lump these into two. But Jack, how do you think, like, because we have heard these before, we have talked about both these songs on the podcast before. Yeah. Sorry, I have something in my eye. And Jack, what do you think, like, how do you think these two singles fit into the album as a whole? And like, when you listen to these two songs, did your opinions on them change listening to them in like the context of the album?
So I don't think Vampires changed very much. I think Vampire was a really good first single to release.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, when you're listening to it along with the rest of the album, it doesn't really like sync in with another song. Whereas I feel like with Bad Idea, right, you get very you get a lot of similarities through like, say, like Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. You get very similarities through like Get Him Back, and like, and even like slightly through like All American Bitch, where you don't get that as much from Vampire. But I think the whole, like, everything she's saying within Vampire is definitely a theme throughout the album, but it's just the sound of Vampire doesn't really transfer to any other song as well as Bad Idea, right, did. But it was a nice first single to kind of get us like into the rhythm of it, and it's also like to release Bad Idea, right, which was a completely different vibe, but then it fits the album more as well. So it's like,
was a second, it kind of eased people into what this album would be, which I think was what Olivia needed to do.
Yeah, because
which
can you imagine
is exactly
no singles saying. Or like from Vampire to All American Bitch to like, so jump from that to that, it would be such a jump. Whereas it wasn't as bad jumping from Bad Idea right to that.
No, I completely agree. I think, like, as songs, like, my opinions haven't changed of these, but in terms of how they fit into the album, I completely agree with you, Jack. I think Vampire was almost, like, it was written, I'm assume it was written, and then the way it was produced, it was, like, almost produced with the intention in mind that, oh, this is going to be a single. We have to make it a single, like, radio kind of song almost, which, and it kind of comes across in the song, but I also think that it was good that it was the first single, because we think about like the public reaction to like the All American Bitch clip, and like if that was her first single from this era, like I don't know if people would like it would kind of like put a mark on the entire album that like doesn't deserve it. But I also think it's a testament to say that like Bad Idea, right, was actually more successful than Vampire. Like it just picked up more on like TikTok and stuff than Vampire did. So it's like kind of to say that like the typical formula that you think works for a single doesn't always work anymore.
Especially with TikTok.
Which is and also like you can't really be like, oh, this song went viral on TikTok, so this, it's like kind of with the times, like, you know, like the trends are changing all the time. So, you know, this song was written probably like a year to 6 months ago and like finalized like a year to 6 months ago, so it's hard to know how TikTok trends are going to change and whether that song's actually going to like work to be successful. But I think overall there were two good single selections, and I think both two really good songs. It's hard to say where they rank in the album right now, just because I feel like the other songs have so much more recency bias.
Yeah.
So I always find it hard to rank singles amongst albums. Like the week after, I need to give it like a few weeks and then be like, okay, this is where this single actually fits, because I think you tend to be like, oh, I hated this single, when no, you didn't hate it, you just like the other new songs better because they're new to you.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week, if we've got one, we could just do a quick list of like what we think our track by track, like in terms of list ranking would be, because then gives us a wee bit more time. I've just looked up the whole Vampire. When you said it was like something they've definitely put towards like being a lead single, and I'm gonna kind of go back to a lot of these throughout the whole like episode, but like Rolling Stone had recently done a whole like big like interview.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, she said felt like a really good progression forward. It didn't feel so different from everything that I've done on the last album, but it still felt fresh and exciting to me. I wrote the song on piano, super chill, in December of 2022. So I think from what you said about it being like the perfect transition from Sewer to like get into this new era is like what she's kind of saying here. It's like it wasn't too different, but it was different enough where like people like it would be able to like get into that new style. And to write it in December of 2022 is really late. I feel like I know it's only been 9 months into 2023. But
I don't know. I would say usually albums are finalized 6 months before they're released ish. So it was probably, I would say it must have been one of the last tracks written for the album, right?
Yeah.
But or not. It like no, I don't know. Well, like it's hard to say. Like I'm assuming all artists have different timelines. So we don't know. That's why I always say like 6 months to a year ago these songs were written, because we don't know the exact timing. But by the way, I did not read that interview, so I didn't just like say that like it was my own thought and then it was in the interview.
No, it's okay. That was taken from Rolling Stone and Apple Music, so it was just like a mix of two. But no, but that was good. I'm glad that I was right, because I like being right. Yeah, wait till it like exposes that you just like read all these articles before you come on and just regurgitate the information and then be like,
that's not what I did. I did not read any of that. I don't have time to read.
That's true. Actually, we're extremely busy.
Anyway, the next track after Bad Idea, Right, and Vampire is Lacy, which is a slower song after like the three upbeat kind of tracks, the first three, which I think like track 4 is like the right time to introduce a slower kind of song for sure. This song caused a lot of drama online. And I have a lot to say about this song. First of all, when I listened to it first, it was one of my like instant favorites. I just like, it takes you to like another place. Like it's very angelic. That's the word. It's like, just like, it almost is like a lullaby in some sense, like the way it's produced, but it's just like different than that in a little way. It's just like so beautiful to me. I don't know. What do you think about this song, Jack?
Yeah, I think it's definitely had its good placement after Vampire, because it does come into like a slower vibe.
Yeah.
God, I feel like we're gonna, like, we've not spoke about the album at all practically, but I feel like we're gonna have such similar favorite songs. Lacy was like, I'm a very slow person song. I'm a very slow song person, so like I really like slow songs. But I think so. First listen, I just skipped from I skipped Vampire and Bad Idea, right, just because we've heard them. Second listen, it gave a better idea of like how it transitioned into it. But from All American Bitch to this, it was like two amazing songs back to back. But it gives very jealousy vibes, and I know before everything was kind of out about Guts, like that was the vibe that we kind of knew was happening because of the whole like Red Fury.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see where this whole like jealousy vibe has come into the album. There has been a lot of theories about this one as well, but it is overall just kind of like you see her in the song comparing herself to other women, feeling like inferior about herself and who she is, but it's like done in a very, like as you said, like angelic and like really thought out way. And there has been a lot of theories about what it could be about, what the song could be about, and I think that's possibly is that the stuff you're talking about, because I've seen some stuff. Yeah.
I kind of want to discuss that because I have like relatively strong opinions on it. Because I think for me as a queer woman, this song is relatable in a different way than just jealousy, because it like reflects the feeling that you get when, for me, it reflects the feeling that you get when you like, especially when you're like coming to terms with your sexuality in a certain sense, but also like that feeling that queer people talk about a lot, like, do I want her? Do I want to be her? And like it pretty much describes that feeling exactly. And I think that it's really important for some people online to stop being very reactionary, because when artists write music, whatever their intention was in the song, whatever feelings they were feeling and whoever they were feeling it about, or whatever thing they were feeling it about, is whatever they were feeling. And if you listen to a song and you relate to it in a way that may not be exactly what the artist was feeling at the time, that is okay. Because that song has been released to the world and the artist has given you the like ability to relate that to something in your life. I mean, there are so many songs I can think about that mean something to me, and maybe that's not exactly what the artist meant. I know like a bunch of Maisie fans, like we all talk about like coming of age being a song about coming out, which is not what Maisie's intention was when she wrote that song, for sure. But the fact that fans can relate to it, or people can relate to it in that sense, is good. I mean, really important. And I think that people online who are like talking about how, oh, I love like how this is a queer song and I relate to it in that way, shouldn't be attacked being like, oh my god, you're assuming something about her sexuality or whatever. Because that's not what they're doing. They're just getting to relate to a song from a queer standpoint that not a lot of artists, they don't get to with a lot of artists. And whether that's how Olivia meant it or not, we don't know. And I think people online who are like assuming that this song has to be about jealousy, and it has to be about jealousy. Mm-hmm. It can't be about falling for a woman. Are kind of coming from like a place of, you know, like ignorance in some sense, because there's something that like we have always said that like straight shouldn't be the default, and Olivia has never like said anything about being straight. She's never been like in an interview, yeah, I'm straight. And if she had been in an interview, yeah, I'm straight, like then that's fine to be like, this song is not about being queer from Olivia's standpoint. But because she's never said anything like that about her sexuality one way or another, it's crazy to just be like, she's straight, she has to be straight because she hasn't said otherwise, and it's rude to think otherwise. Because like I just think that like it should like straight shouldn't be the default, and that's just like the way that it is. And so people shouldn't be like vilifying people online for interpreting a song in a certain way. And like I said for you, it doesn't mean that you need to interpret a song in the way that she wrote it, right? Like if you're straight and she wrote this about a woman she fell in love with, and you want to interpret it from a jealousy standpoint because that's what's relatable for you, that's fine. Like, no one's gonna be mad about you for that. And if Olivia wrote this about a jealousy thing and you're queer and you want to relate to it from, falling in love with a woman, that's fine. And nobody should be mad at you for that either. And I just think, like, Olivia put this on the album, and she wouldn't have put this on the album if she didn't want people to hear it. And it's very, very assuming. Like, it's towing the line a lot. So she has to have known that it would cause this discussion. So I don't think it's like gonna make her upset or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, like, when I said jealousy, I didn't mean like the lyrics. I just meant like the vibe of the song.
Yeah. But
she has always said, I'm going to be the wee quotes person this today. But she said that the annotation for this is with the lines being ambiguous, it's worth noting that Olivia has said that she doesn't like to pigeonhole her songs into being about one specific topic. And in September 2023, she said, I never want to say who any of my songs are about. I never done that before in my career and probably won't. I think it's better not to pigeonhole a song to being about this one thing. And the annotation follows to say that said, Lacy most likely represents the physically ideal woman Olivia in her pinning romanticizes with the insecurity that attractive women evoke in her. But I think that's coming from a very, like, I don't know who wrote this annotation, but that, again, it's literally how people interpret these lyrics. But
yeah,
when it comes to, obviously, like, I think there's a very fine line where people do take it too far, where it's possible that this has happened before, and I think it's happened with, like, actors and everything, where someone has been pushed into not necessarily coming out, but they've been, like, it's been made so much about one thing, whereas it's like, it's necessarily, like, Olivia's released this, and obviously she knew, where she would know, like, with lyrics like this, there's always gonna be, like, people, like, thinking and, like looking into the lyrics and seeing what the song could possibly be about. But I think it's very important that it's not taken too far to where it's like artist is made uncomfortable by being, like, it's okay to be, like, to speculate, but it is like there's a boundary that, like, you need to watch that you don't cross, where you say, like, go around being like, Olivia is gay, like, whatever, but Olivia one might not be, but, like, it might be something that possibly could be true, but she's not ready. Like, there's so many things about it, and I think that's the only thing that, when things like this happen, we need to be careful about. But there's nothing wrong with people taking a lyrics in a song in a certain way and reacting to it, and, like, sort of, like, seeing their experience in the song. Like, that is so okay. Like, that's what music is. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I think, honest to God, I agree. I completely agree. I think that there are certain people online from both sides of this who take it way too far, and that can really negatively affect the artist. And so I think that it's, you need to be careful about that. But I think that, if somebody went up to Olivia and was like, this song helps me, like, come to terms with, like, falling for a woman or whatever, and she's completely straight and wrote it from a straight perspective, I don't think she'd be offended. She'd be like, that's so nice, like, people can relate to my music. That's literally what she would say.
Yeah. So she's like, oh my God, no, that's not what I intended it for.
That's not what I meant.
But like, can you no, that's okay. Like, I think we've definitely seen that. We see that all the time, like where people interpret songs in certain ways, and it might not even be close to that. But if that's how you interpret it, that's like, go ahead.
Valid.
Like, that's so valid. Yeah, and obviously, I just like, it's a very like there's no wrong way of going about it, but it's like, especially for me, like I'm very like mental health driven and stuff, and I think there's a lot of like that goes behind the scenes that we just like, these artists produce this work, and it is like, that's what music is. It's all to be like interpreted in your own way, but it's like you don't want to overcome, like boundaries are important as well, so it's just like about that. But if people can find validation in a song, or can find a different meaning in a song that they they can like feel heard, like that is so awesome, and that's literally like what makes music so much fun. And
I agree.
It's so weird that like how long is this song? Literally like, I don't know, like 2 minutes and something, how much like it can spark. And but this is why it's so fun.
It's just people being reactionary online, let's be honest. Anyway, I think we talked a lot about that song, and we have so many other songs to talk about, so we should move on. Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl is the next track. Do you want to talk about this, Jack?
Yes, sure. I'm never prepared when this happens. So this song dives into Olivia's struggles to socialise and fit in with peers. And I think there's always this kind of idea that people that are homeschooled are like very socially stunned. And I think that like a lot of lyrics in this song kind of like go back to that. And I'll get back to the quotes in a minute, but how did you perceive it?
Love this song. It's like such a vibe. It's like such a song that I just want to like scream all of the lyrics. And it's hilarious to me how she called this Ballad of a Homeschool Girl, because I'm assuming that the original title of this song was Social Suicide, and like I guess she's probably not allowed to like call it that. So she was like, what's a synonym for social suicide? And then called it Ballad of a Homeschool Girl, which is hilarious. And I also love how it's not a ballad. She's so funny.
I feel like it's just very like chaotic, like last minute name change just to like the labels. I know. Like, you cannot call it that. And she's like,
I don't know. I'm just guessing shit. Like, who knows if that happens? It says it enough.
Like,
so
usually
funny.
If a song says the title like enough, you're like, okay, that's the title.
That should be the title, right? Like, but no, I don't have like so much to say about this song. I think like this song is something that I needed when I was 19. When I was 19, I would have loved this song, and I still love this song today, by the way. But it's just like maybe less relatable now that I'm older. But it's still so much fun, and I absolutely love it. Like, just the vibe is really good.
There's so many. I love how it starts with "Cat Got My Tongue." It's like, it's such a like you're like dragged in at the intro, and this whole like the second verse is amazing. Like, I laughed at the wrong time, sat with the wrong guy, searching how to start a conversation on a website. I talked to this guy, a hot guy, swore I was his type. Guess that he was making out with boys like the whole night. Everything I do is tragic. Every guy I like is gay. The morning after I panic. Oh God, what did I say? It's such a good verse, and then it goes into the chorus, and it is so fun. And I think the only thing that I've got that was said about this was that she revealed to Rolling Stones that it was that she got the name for the song over Bob Dylan's Ballad of a Thin Man.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was wrong about my opinion about how she...
You didn't read that intro before you...
I didn't pre-read it and give my opinion that was exactly like the interview. No, but that's okay. But I liked my funny little theory.
I just love how she like has these musical like inspirations. They're so random. Like, she goes from like quoting like, or like talking about our favorite artist, and it's like such a wide genre of artists, and it's so cool because I just crazy. Like, I want our Spotify playlist. Like, I just want to know what she's listening
I
to.
also love the outro where it's like, thought your mom was your wife, called you the wrong name twice, can't think of a third line. It's like she obviously could think of a third line, but it's just like the fact that she says that in the context of the song is so witty and hilarious.
That it just goes
Yeah.
into the la 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 like as well. Like it's
Yeah.
like she's like, oh yeah, I can't think of anything. Just fill it with this.
Yeah. It's hilarious. And like we know how good of a songwriter she is. She wouldn't just put that in, but like it just like it is because of the context of the song, which makes it so perfect.
Part of me feels like we're very like we've not even touched the surface with our lyricism.
No, it's great. I mean, I feel like we would need like 6 hours if we went through all the lyrics. So I hate to rush us, but
Well, it's
I
just
don't know
nice.
if people would listen. I mean, if you want to listen to a 6 hour podcast where we talk about every single lyric in Guts,
Yeah, let us know.
I mean, we'll do it, but I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
If not, I'll happily just sit here and read them off at this point. But she's found her sound,
read them off.
and
Yeah.
it's interesting. But that's
It's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
it just gets better and better. Honestly.
The next track is Making the Bed, and I don't know, there's something about this song that is so good to me. It's more of a slower track, and the production on it is beautiful. And I don't know what she wrote the song about, and I'm sure Jack has it in his little interview package from her perspective. But I think the way that the song is written is relatable for so many people on so many different standpoints, because it's like, you know, I hate this thing that I'm doing, but I am the person who like did it to myself and like am like keeping on doing this stuff, and I should stop, but I'm doing it anyway because like this is like, it gives me like some kind of rush for a little bit, and then I come home and I'm so sad. And it's, I don't know, it's such a relatable feeling. And I don't know, the song, I wouldn't say it was like in my top half of the album for sure, but it's really good. And I think on a night where I'm like feeling all of these emotions, I would listen to that song and bawl my eyes out.
God, that is so sad. Oh no. Okay, if I look at your Spotify and I see that you're listening to the song, I might have to give you a message and just check in on you.
I mean, if you're looking at my Spotify and you see that I'm listening to this song in the next week, I'm probably just listening to Guts on repeat like I have been, but
I'll give it a couple
who knows?
weeks.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay.
So
Sounds good.
from the I literally wrote all these up before, so I'm gonna use them all at this point. If we're going 6 hours, I'm gonna say them all. So Making the Bed is a melancholic, self-deprecating ballad that serves as a 6th track on Guts. Olivia reflects on her dwindling satisfaction with fame, but concludes that she only has herself to blame, literally, as you said. She opens up and confronts the trauma that comes with the blowing up so fast and everything that happened throughout the last album, and everything that came with it. But she said that it was helpful to acknowledge it and write about it, but it's also through that she's been able to understand that when she's feeling these feelings, that she has to just turn around and understand like what a position she's in and how grateful she needs to be, or at least like how grateful she should feel maybe when she's feeling at the lowest and she's like, okay, like why me, or blah blah blah. But she understands how grateful she is and stuff. And so it was when she opened up saying all this when she done the interview with Phoebe Bridgers, and what a person to open up about with this. I feel like they would have probably had the best conversation ever. But it is something. There's so much that's happened since there were, and like even just with the blowing up and then with everything else, like it's so much more than she probably thought she was gonna get. Like it's to want this career is something, but then to get everything, especially in the speed that Olivia got it, was like it's like so much to process in such a short time. And She wrote how she was 19 and had all the zest for life, but also was in an industry for the first time that can be kind
Yeah.
of alluring. There's all these exciting people and exciting things, all these fancy shiny new toys that she was buying into. Like weird, interesting friends are getting caught up in artificial and interpretations of yourself. I say all this about separating person for persona, but it's a strange thing when you become successful and get noticed for songs that are super raw and intimate. So on a certain level you feel like people really know you, and they do, but not in the way that your friends or family would know you. That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
So fast as well.
It's crazy. I could not imagine. And I think this song, like hearing you say that, I think this song really emphasizes how good of a songwriter Olivia is, because she wrote a song about something so specific and so unrelatable for 99.9% of people. Like none of us know what that feels like, and made it into something that most of us know what that feels like. And like it's a relatable song about something that she wrote about something that we don't know what that exactly feels like. And I think that's a sign of like a really good songwriter.
Yeah, like that we're able to make it about our own situations, and
Yeah.
necessarily might not be as bad, but everybody deals with it in their own way. But like the fact that she's been able to turn all of that into something is very beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
probably, at least same for me right now, where you said it's like not on your top half of the album, but I do feel, especially with like how many times I've listened to the album, it's growing each time I listen to it. So it might end up being like higher on the list. And it's just, I think it's just because there was a lot to say with it. So like it might just necessarily be one of those songs that I, like as you said, that you turn on when you're necessarily wanting to feel like that, or like you're wanting
Yeah.
something to kind of like make you feel heard in that way. But it is still a very crucial song, and it's gives another like kind of depth to the album, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The next song on the album is Logical, which of all of the tracks on the album, all of it was written by Olivia and Dan. It's like Sour. This track was written by Olivia, Dan, and Julia Michaels. I love Julia Michaels. Absolutely love her. So that's fun. That's fun that she wrote this song with Olivia, which is a really nice tidbit. My thoughts on this song, I think it's incredible. I think I love the piano on this song. I love the production on this song, and I think it describes a feeling that like a lot of people have dealt with, and it's like how it's like the feeling of, oh, like I know that this person is really bad for me, but I cling to like these irrational thoughts, and like I'm not being rational by staying with them, and I know that, but because of like your manipulation into like making me crave like whatever happiness or whatever, I stay. And that's why it's like, logically she should leave the relationship, but she doesn't, because of the way that she's being manipulated. And that's why she's like, love is never logical. And lyrics like, you have me thinking 2 + 2 = 5, which I don't know, it's just such a like, again, like if I heard this song 3 years ago when I was going through something similar, I would like have destroyed myself. Like it would have been like me listening to the song every night crying. um, which like has happened with many songs in my past, so it's okay. But I just think like it's such a beautiful way to describe that feeling, the way that this song is written, and I love it.
Like it is songs like this where it sort of feels like if you had these songs at that certain time, like would this have opened the eye, like your eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is also, it's so easy to go back and think that, but like obviously when you are in those situations, it's nothing is rational. Like, so even if you're to listen to a song, you're like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, but it sort of feels like, looking back on it, you're like, this was the perfect answer to these situations, or like it perfectly describes that, like those feelings. And again, like music like this is so important, because it, like the whole point of music is to take these lyrics and make them your own, and it's to have that like sort of like really cringy, but like it's like a virtual like hawk to look back on. Like I think when you look at the situations, you're like, it doesn't seem as like hard to deal with when you have something that helps you describe it so easily. And it is like the lyrics plus like the 2 + 2 = 5 lyrics, and it's like the sky's green, the grass is red, and it's like these things are not true at all, but like it, like how you feel when you're in this situation, like that's obviously not true at all, but that doesn't even seem rational to believe. And it is just like the lyrics are there, and it reflects on like an emotional turmoil and difficulty making rational decisions when caught up in intense feelings. And that's what love does. Like that's and that's what love does normally, but when these other things are introduced, it just makes things so much more intense. And it does just speak on the rationality of it all. And like I've definitely been in situations that are necessarily different in ways and stuff, but it's there is definitely, it doesn't even have to be like a relationship. These things happen in like friendships and everything and stuff. So it's definitely a song that is going to speak to people even if they are younger and they've not necessarily had these situations in a romantic relationship, but it is also like a good eye opener for people that might hear this song and when it comes to that time, that if like it's something that opens their eyes early on and they can see these type of things going on. And it's very important, like it's a very important like thing to talk about, and she's done it in a really like beautiful way as well, which Olivia's songwriting like is of course, but it's
beautiful.
Honestly so good.
That's logical. I completely agree, and I think it's like such a I don't know what more to say. You summed it up pretty well. The next song is Get Him Back, which is probably the hit of this album. Like it's a song that Olivia's team, I mean, they just released a music video for it, so they knew. But it's good. Also the music video, Jack has seen it. I haven't, because I suck. I'm fake.
I need to hear your reaction to it when we finish this.
Okay.
Sorry, I need 2 seconds. If like I'm a video editor, and like for a career, and the amount, it's just like you're literally like taken away from everything at every single moment in time throughout the video. Like you're gonna be sitting there, because I was sitting there like analyzing each frame and just like sorry, I have so much more to say, but I just need time to process it. I only watched it before we done this. And I just can't wait to see your reaction. It's so exciting.
Okay, maybe after we record.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love the song. It's such a vibe. It's like this song live is gonna go so hard, like screaming every lyric with everyone, like the I wanna get him back, like screaming that. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, I am so excited. And I don't know. The song is such a hit to me. It's like so perfect. Imagine this was the first single of the album. This should have been the first single. But I also like, we talked about Vampire, and we get it. Mm-hmm. But I love the double meaning of Get Him Back, like, because I'm like that too. Like, if you've done me wrong and like I don't have closure, the closure I get is like through revenge. But also, I would love to just like talk to you and like get that closure from like getting you back in that way as well. So this is just like such a relatable thing for me. But if you're not going to give that to me, I will resort to revenge. And so that's why I absolutely love this song, because it's like, it's such an anthem it's the kind of song that you listen to when you're in that stage of like a breakup or a friendship breakup or whatever, of like when you're in that stage of a breakup of just like rage, like I hate him, but like if he came back to my life, I would like whatever, I would totally fall again. And it's just that song that you like scream in your room when you like are filled with so much rage about a situation, and then just like I don't know. That's all I have to say about this. I absolutely love it.
It's part of me really wants this to be the opening track for tour, but it's not going to be like, it's going to be like
it's going to be the last one. I think it'll be like
pre-encore or after or on or okay.
Yeah.
Because
pre-encore.
Like, I can just imagine it like so quiet on stage, and then just being like the 1, 2, 3, and then like just like cutting in, being like, wait, is this the song with the drums? And then it just like lights up, and like just.
No, I think that All American Bitch is gonna be the first track, and like the verse 1 will be like this part that happens before she goes on stage, and then she'll go on stage to like the drop in All American Bitch, which will also be fun.
Oh my god. We're getting so ahead of ourselves, but it's gonna be so fun.
Or the like knocking and like hey in Bad Idea, right?
Oh,
and then
gosh.
she comes on stage. That would also be fun. Okay.
We need to do an episode closer to the time where we just like plan like
we should
tour.
totally, okay, that would be so much fun. We should totally do that, like a tour prediction video where we like talk about what we want, which like isn't as fun with Olivia because she doesn't have as many tracks, whereas like imagine we did that for Eras tour, that would have been more fun, but we weren't doing the podcast back then, so
we'll do that for anything though when it comes. That's such a good idea. We definitely
that's a good idea. Wow.
It's just like I actually have in my notes I just wrote no words, just a vibe. Plus the music video slaps. It's just the wee digs. Like it's so funny. It's like he said he's 6'2", and I'm like, dude, nice try. It's like
nice try.
It is so good. There's something so. I said this with Maisie, but there's something so refreshing with this album, and it's it's not that music sounds the same,
love it,
but it's like we needed Olivia.
I know. It's just like. Yeah. Ugh, so good. Yeah, that's Getting Back. I don't know how much more there is to say. We just both love it. So it's such a bop. Come to Guts tour to scream it with us.
Do that.
Which will be announced tomorrow. So we're not talking about the tour because, we're mentioning it right now. But like, we're not going to talk about dates or anything because we're filming this on September 12th. The dates are going to come out tomorrow. This will come out on the 14th, but we'll talk about dates next week. So stay tuned for that.
They need to actually help us out. Can they start releasing stuff on a Monday and Tuesday and stop leaving us in the dust on a Wednesday?
I know. We always get screwed. Anyway, the next track is Love is Embarrassing. And it is embarrassing. And it's just like, I love so many of the lyrics of this song. Like, God just watch as I crucify myself for some weird second string loser who's not worth mentioning. I love that. It's like when you think back to like teenage love, like I'm sure you can as well. It's just embarrassing. Yeah. It's like, oh my God. And it's like when you're like inexperienced with love as well, it's even more embarrassing. Love's still embarrassing now. It's like, why would I give up my whole integrity for some fucking guy? Like why would I do that? But you do it for love, and it sucks. And I feel like this song is just like so fun. It talks about that in such a way that's so fun. It's like, fuck that guy, and also like, fuck me for liking him.
I think if you must be like, you're telling a lie if you don't say that you at least once a week go back and in your memories and cringe at something that happened when you were younger and like love, like it's obviously love is embarrassing now, but the amount I cringe at myself when I look back in my head, I'm like, ooh, like why like why like would you say these things or do these things, or like pretty much just think this was like the be all end. Like there's so many things that you happen when you go into love, and it is literally like a roller coaster of literally like emotions, and you're going through the self discovery as well, like during it, and it's just like no words can describe how it feels to do it for the first time, like to go through those emotions for the first time and like get them so wrong and get them so right, and just be like, it's just such a mess, right?
Yeah.
My light fell.
Oh.
This happens once an episode.
Well, drama.
I'm just gonna sit it there. I'm not even gonna fix it now. But it is, yeah. So it covers like an awkward, sometimes stressful experience navigating love's and emotions during youth. The embarrassment that comes after prioritizing and valuing a lover and relationship that was just like not worth it at all. But I think that's the whole part of where self-discovery comes into, and also learning to like your self-worth and stuff. So it's like you do these things, yeah, but through the process of doing these things you learn so much about yourself, and without doing those things, even though they are really embarrassing and cringe and everything, like you wouldn't be the type of person, or you wouldn't be the person you are without these things.
No, I agree. I think it's so fun. And I think it describes that feeling so well and in such a fun way. So it definitely is like a teenage anthem, and I love it. But yeah, the next track is my personal favorite.
Say all you have
I don't
to
know.
say. I'll just sit and listen.
Oh, okay. Wait, what's your favorite? Have we not talked about it yet?
All American Bitch, but I've
Okay.
purposely not looked at your tweets so I can hear it first person about this song.
Oh, okay. My tweets are just tweeting Grudge lyrics because I love this song. I just tweet lyrics because I'm desperate for attention. This song is about feeling manipulated by someone, or feeling like you really, really had something with someone, or like, and then just like really wishing you got some kind of closure, and looking back at the relationship that you had with them and how you were being manipulated, and even when all was said and done, you didn't get anything and they got everything and you were left with nothing. And it's like having a grudge that, like, you know, you gave up everything for this guy, or, you know, whoever, and like they don't care. And now you have nothing and they have everything and you don't even have them. And I don't know, there's so many lyrics in here that just like absolutely destroyed me. Like the songwriting in this song took everything I loved and crushed it in between your fingers. And I doubt you ever think about the damage that you did, but I hold on to every detail like my life depends on it. Like, I doubt you ever think about everything you took from me, but that matters to me now. And it's a lot of this reminds me of Volcano by Maisie. Like, it's giving similar energy, like all or nothing. You chose nothing, and you don't have to face any consequences for your actions, but I do. And you don't have to think about me anymore, but I do. My undying love, now I hold it like a grudge, and I hear your voice every time I think I'm not enough. And then there's the second verse, which to me is like my favorite part of the song, because when I like have arguments with people, I always think I do it wrong. And when I have conversations with people that like end in like friendships ending or something, you know, sometimes I just wish like I got more closure in certain circumstances. And the parts is like, the arguments I've won against you in my head, in the shower, in the car, in the mirror before bed. I'm so tough when I'm alone and I make you feel so guilty. And I fantasize about a time you're a little fucking sorry. Like,
Yeah.
All Olivia ever wanted from this person was them to apologize for what they did to her. And she didn't even get that. And and she would have been fine, but she didn't even get a sorry. And then the last part that like this probably my favorite lyric of the whole time of the whole song is like, I know in my heart hurt people, and we both drew blood, but man, those cuts were never equal. Like like I said, like he got to keep everything, and she has nothing. And I don't know. I just, this song is so personal to me, and I think it's because it was like relatable in the time I listened to it that I like it so much. But she describes this feeling so well, and like when I say relatable, I'm gonna be like very personal, but just like, to me, this song reminds me of like a friendship breakup that I like recently went through, and how like the other person got to keep all of the friends in our friend group and everything, and I am alone and have nothing, and I didn't even get a sorry or anything, and they hurt me, right?
Yeah.
And so the song's just like, oh my god, why is she describing this right now to me? That's why I like it so much, I think, because it's relatable, but I think it's also a really, really good song. I don't know, Jack. That was a lot. Tell me your thoughts.
No, this has been one of the hardest songs I think off the album to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna cry. No, I think when it
I'm
comes
sorry.
to obviously a lot of the thoughts of the song are very like based towards like a relationship, like the romantic one. But it is, I think these things hit most with like friendship breakups, because at least in a romantic one, like there's
You have your
always,
friends.
yeah. But when your friends go, there's nobody. So I think
There's
it's
nothing.
and I'm definitely always the one who seems to just, if these things happen, I'm the one left with like nobody. So I think it's
Yeah.
um and like it is literally the lyrics, like you pointed out, like all you want, and I fantasize about a time you're a little fucking sorry, like it's all you want is the smallest thing, like it's an apology, and it doesn't have to be anything more than that, but it's like
Yeah.
Someone, while it sucks for both parties, there is someone that's going to always come out on top over um like, and always end up with like the better outcome. So like if you're the one that didn't, then all you want is like the smallest thing, and that's just like a little bit of like closure, or even a sorry, like
Yeah.
and or your flowers filled with vitriol, I can't say that word, and expresses the receiving malicious words disguised as compliments, using the word which is a form of sulfuric acid and a metaphor for bitter criticism. Like there's just so many
Oh God.
words and like lyrics, and I think it's a song that means a lot, but it's a song that I don't think I'd play unless it's like very like
Yeah.
I'm needing to. So I think like still things are still kind of like it's, there's so much to process with this song, and I don't think I've fully
It's
done
a
it,
lot.
but it is like it's so weird how you come from through the album, and it's like it doesn't necessarily feel like a storyline, but it is like, it's like
Mm-hmm.
she's touched on every single emotion,
Yeah.
and it's obviously these songs are crucial, and like especially from someone who's done a lot of growing from their previous project to now, and even such a short amount of time. Like this happens to everybody in different ways. Like this could have been romantic for her, but it might not have been, but it's the way that this happens for everybody, so everybody will be able to interpret it in their own way, and necessarily it might be a hard song
Mm-hmm.
to listen to, but it's a very like important song to have on the album, and I still think it's ranked very highly. It's just one of those songs that I think just needed a wee bit more processing, but I think from seeing like your reaction to it, it is just like it does hit everybody so
Oh,
hard in like so many different ways, and it's just
it's beautiful.
yeah,
I love
it's
it.
so strange how something like one thing can speak so many like words, and it can relate to so many experiences.
I know, it's crazy.
It's a sad one, but it's important to have a fun album. Sorry guys, we're a wee bit. Look, this isn't our.
This is our longest episode
yeah,
ever because we don't know how to shut up.
But this is
that it's important.
We'll come back to you with that next week, and that'll probably be like high on our rankings, I'm guessing, but it'll be a sad one.
The next song is "Pretty Isn't Pretty," which is a song pretty much about the physical expectations of being a woman, and not just being a woman, just about life. You know, like. Yeah. Really, it's hard to like be on the internet as like, especially as a teenager, when those things affect you so much, and see like diet videos and people in comments telling people that they're fat or whatever, and having this thing that like you don't, no matter what you do, no matter how like how you what you do, it's never enough, because like the version of beautiful that all of us have is like fake, right? Like plastic surgery, whatever. And it's always like, it's never enough. And I think that's like something that's so relatable for so many people, including myself. That's like, it makes you, it's so sad. And this song depicts it perfectly, and I love the production on it. I think it's beautiful. What do you think, Jack?
Like, I'm not gonna speak too much on it, because I think there's a higher, there's more pressure on like younger women and women in general, and like it's not my place to say anything. But I think it all comes from social media. Social media is it's not even social media, because it happens with like media in general, not just social, but like media. And it's something that's so incredibly hurtful, and I think we're definitely getting out of it, but it is still something that's still everywhere. Like, and it's actually, it's not necessarily like media anymore. It's how easily accessible it is to like receive this hate and these comments through other people, like, that don't even understand how hurtful their words can be. But I'm not gonna say too much about it. This is just something she said. In this time period, I was super obsessed with social media. I would look for things that would hurt my feelings all the time, compare myself to everyone. I felt like my life was only what I showed to others. I didn't feel like my life was any deeper than my Instagram feed. And that's a very troubling mindset to be in as a teenager. And I think that's very true. Like, Instagram's probably the worst for it. But Twitter's
Instagram is bad.
Well. I think like Twitter's more bad for comments, and Instagram's more bad for like stuff that you're seeing. But it's important to express that like self-love is so important. It's such a hard journey, but someone's comments over someone else should hold no weight, because it's all about like how you see yourself. So like, if you're positive in the way you feel, then that's all that's important.
I completely agree, and I think it's just a societal expectation, and I think that for this generation, that, you know, of people, like a lot of our parents grew up in a society where that was important, and now are like putting those expectations of how, you know, of being skinny on their children, which, like, you know, as a teenager, that can like weigh a lot on you as well, when you're seeing it online and you're seeing it at home. And I think it's really sad. And as someone who's like struggled a lot with, you know, my weight and like my body image, like for my whole life, this song is like hits home, and it's nice to have it sung about, and like have something to relate to, and like remind yourself that you're not alone. And it's tough in some senses that, like, it makes it almost demoralizing for someone like me. Like, when I was Olivia's age, or like even younger than that, like, these things were so important to people, and now it's like still the same, and it's like, why? I wish it would change. And I hope by the time, like, I have children, at least for my own children, that I can do better for them and help them have, like, a stronger relationship with food and with their bodies and everything. So that was just like a random aside, but yeah.
No, it's important. I think it's definitely something that it's crazy how it's still as like as much as it's crazy that there's still so much of it like, and it does, like, I think as people are, it's definitely getting to a point where people are starting to take their own power back, and that's incredibly, like, good to see, but it is still incredibly damaging. And it's also like it's hard to say it'll ever get to that point where it isn't involved in everyday media, but like all we can hope is that it is, because it is so incredibly damaging, and people just need to be nicer as well, because it's a lot of it nowadays is inflicted from other people onto others.
Oh yeah.
And it's just,
I totally agree.
People just need to learn to be decent, but that's something that just seems so far away. But we can only hope that. But it is important. It's an important thing to talk about.
And the last song is Teenage Dream, which I also think is something. This song reminded me a lot of Nothing New. I don't know, not to, like, again, relate to Taylor songs, but just, like, you know, something that a lot of people feel when they're of Olivia's age. Like, I want to be an adult now. I want to be, like, she probably feels like she's doing all these things as an adult, and, like, you know, she's a freaking pop star, and so many people of Olivia's age feel that way as well. Like, a 19-year-old being like, you know, I'm living on my own, I'm going to college, whatever. I'm doing all these things, but I'm still, like, just a kid to people, and I what am I going to be when I'm no longer that person? I don't know. And it's just such a beautiful way to end the album, because, like we talked about at the start of this, is like all of these songs describe the feelings of being 19, but, like, she talks, and then there's a lyric in their song, got your whole life ahead of you, you're only 19, but I fear they already got the best parts of me. And it's, like, almost, to me, very retrospectful of the entire album. Like, I fear that, like, I'm never going to be able to feel these feelings again and make an album as good as this, because I'll never be this age again, and I'll never have these feelings again. And I'm sorry that I can't do that for you forever, because the next time I make an album, I'll be in my 20s, and I'll be a completely different person. You know, well, not a completely different person, but I won't be able to be just, like, that teenage pop star anymore. So it's her, like, this is the last moment that she gets to talk to us on a song as a teenager. And the fact that she's like, I'm sorry I couldn't always be your teenage dream. And I think that's such a beautiful way to end this album. And it really, like, it's sad, but it's beautiful, and I think very important.
It almost feels like the perfect, like, ending to the, like, it's like an almost perfect, like, summary of everything up to date as well as, like, previously. It's like taking, like, I think the Live we're gonna see after this is, I don't think we're gonna see her for a while in terms of, like, a new album after tour and stuff. And I think we're gonna see someone with a completely different understanding and view of life, that's, like, that's taken a lot of life experience and will produce, like, something maybe around, like, 20, like, late 22, 23, 20, 24, around that
Yeah.
age, I think was when we'll get something. So it'll be really interesting to see, like, taken from this song here to like then our next like album, to like how what's the difference between them, because we can see the difference between Sour and Guts, but
Yeah.
like it's a perfect round off to the album because it overall like just kind of reflects the like the journey of like growing up like under the spotlight as well, with like the immense pressure of like musicians like having to constantly top their previous work, and I
Yeah.
think there's been so much pressure on her because of how well Sour done to like replicate that and to double it, and it's with that as well as growing up and trying to like you're still trying to figure out who you are, like throughout your end of your teens to like even like you're like I think you still don't even know who you are until you're like 20, like 24, 25, like, and even at that you're still doing so much growing, but like in between like
No,
17
yeah.
to 20 like you're doing so much growing, like you've got this amount of like huge pressure to like outperform your pretty much like Sour done something that no other album has done, I don't think, like in terms of like how wide a reach it had. So to go through all those changes and to try and create something that tops your last project is so immensely hard, but as well as being under the constant like public eye and like changing so much, like there's so much.
I can't imagine. It must be so hard, and I think, yeah, I think it's crazy but very important message that she's portraying across, I think. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, after tour and everything, where she goes with her music. If she, and I feel like you said, there'll be a probably a big change, and I'm excited to see. I'm really excited. I think it'll be good, and I think that this album overall, that was the last track. This album overall is such a masterpiece, and it's something that Olivia should be so proud of, because I think, personally, I think is better than Sour. I mean, we talked about it at the start, but I think the songwriting on it is beautiful. The vibe of it is so fun, and the sad songs hit, the angry songs hit, and it's just like, oh, I love it.
Yeah. You summed it up perfectly. There's still songs on Sour that are, well, all of Sour's going to be a constant, like, there's no skips, you'll go back to it and enjoy it, but this feels a lot more like, it sounds a lot less like it's going for hits after hits, and it's going for a more timeless project, and also a very important project for people that age, and an important project, I think, for Olivia, just to come out and say that, look, I can do it again, and she's smart. And I've not got many numbers, but I think it's doing really well from what I've seen.
Which is fun. I'm excited to see where it charts and everything like that. I'm excited about the tour and everything. It'll be fun. And there are 4 other tracks that were on vinyls, which I haven't listened to. Jack said he's heard a little bit on TikTok, but we're not going to talk about it, just because I know like some people might want to wait. We're making the assumption that those songs will be on Spotify, so if they do get released on streaming services as like a deluxe version of the album, we will talk about them then. So
there's 4. I wonder if we'll maybe get more in deluxe, but each vinyl color has a song, so if you have one, go find it. But we will talk about it more when we have them on Spotify. I feel like it's only fair that way.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. We spent all of our time talking about Olivia because we love her so much, and we love this album so much, and we felt that it deserved its own episode where we talk through everything. There's obviously a few other things that happened this week, but in the interest of time, we are going to talk about them next week. There was the Baby Queen new single, Quarter Life Crisis, the song, which we will talk about next week as well. Also, she unfortunately had to push her album back from the first week of October to the first week of November, which is a month, which is a really long time. So there's a lot to like kind of that only got announced a few hours ago, so there is a lot to like dissect there on why that may have happened. And maybe more information will come out this week so as well. So we'll definitely talk about that a lot next week. I don't know. It's an interesting thing with that, I think. Like especially with it being with her tour. I don't know. It's interesting.
We may get more information, but if not, I think there's ways we can speculate, but there's obviously something going behind the scenes where it's just not able to happen. But tour hasn't been pushed back.
Which is good.
So if you're still going, I don't know how she's going to do it. I don't know if she's going to perform songs, and it's always weird when they do this. But
yeah, it is interesting. We'll see what happens. And then obviously, big news: the Eras Tour movie was announced, and we didn't even have an episode about it last week. And there is a lot to say about that. Things that have been coming up, the trailer, all that fun stuff. We will talk about it next week as well. In more detail. But if you guys made it to the end of this, and obviously you must be big Olivia Rodrigo fans because you listened to us talk for an hour and a half about her album, so I would say please subscribe because we love Olivia and we talk so much about her, and we'll be talking about her tour next week for sure too, and we'll be talking about other artists similar to her like Baby Queen, who opened for Olivia last year in Europe, so you probably might know her. And Gracie, we talk about Gracie too, who also opened for Olivia, so, you know, fun stuff.
We just talk about everybody.
We talk about everybody. That's why we're called The Music Shack. But anyway, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast feed. Give us a like, a rating. We really appreciate all those things. Follow us on Twitter, tweet at us, and be like, oh my gosh, I love you, Jack and Ray. If you made it to the end, tweet at Music Shack and be like, I love you, Jack and Ray.
Oh my god,
and we know that you made it to the end.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, say that. Oh my god, that was so much better than the Super Bowl. Okay, but anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching.